How's it going, you beautiful people? It's Jake the Ashen Hoe.
Wait, did you just say ho? It's Harlow, not ho. You're not a slut, damn it.
Oh shit. How's it going, everyone? I'm Jake the Ashen Hollow. So there's a character we seemingly know quite a bit and close to nothing about, and that dear chap is Solaire. I know I've been asked about him countless numbers of times, so given the new material we've learned in Dark Souls 3 about him, let's combine that with our previous knowledge and see if we can make sense as to who he was and what became of him. I believe Solaire was a man of great hubris, so let's start with exploring that thought. The first thing I want to bring up is the symbol of the sun painted upon his chest and shield. It is commonly believed that Solaire had come up with this symbol and painted it upon his equipment himself, but only half of that is true. Let's read the description of his armor from both Dark Souls 1 and 3. In 1, it says, Armor of Solaire of Astora, Knight of Sunlight. The large holy symbol of the sun, while powerless, was painted by Solaire himself. Solaire's incredible prowess must have come from rigorous training alone, for his equipment exhibits no special traits. And in 3, it says, Chainmail armor and white coat featuring a large rendition of the holy symbol of the sun. The choice attire of a singular knight of sunlight from a previous age. The symbol was painted by the knight himself, but the armor never bore any special power, sacred or otherwise. So he certainly painted it upon his gear himself, but it wasn't his symbol. It was always the symbol of the sun associated with the firstborn. His armor, like mentioned in the description, featured a rendition of the symbol, rendition meaning interpretation. This is why I think it's important that it's frequently brought up that these symbols didn't bring Solaire any sort of divine or special powers. It wasn't a symbol granted upon him, rather he took it for himself, so it lacked what it stood for in a sense. So here's the thing I've come to believe about Solaire. I think he did worship the sun, but I don't know that he did it as a completely religious act or he did it because he desired power. We learn from his items that his incredible prowess has come from his training alone. Power seemed to be something he was dedicated to. Upon first meeting Solaire, he says something pretty particular that stood out to me, and that is,
Now that I am undead, I have come to this great land, the birthplace of Lord Gwyn, to seek my very own son.
For the longest time, I always shrugged that off as nothing, but upon musing the thought that Solaire is out for power, that line seems pretty indicative of what he was about. He came here seeking his own sun, not the sun. So what do we know about the sun? Its rays of light manifested themselves as the lightning Gwyn conjured to vanquish the ancient dragons and contained great power. Yet here we find Solaire seeking out a sun to claim as his own. Then there is, of course, one of his fan favorite lines of him speaking about the sun.
If only I could be so grossly incandescent.
So really, it's been under our noses this whole time. He wanted to be like the sun, powerful and brilliant. That is, after all, why he sought his own son. We'll see more examples of this later. We also see Solaire following the same path as the chosen undead, in which he or she is also becoming immensely powerful. Solaire himself is even a little skeptical of his plans as he says,
What if I am seen as a laughingstock, as a blind fool without reason?
To me it seems that if he were wholeheartedly serving the sun, there would be no cause for doubt, yet he is seeking a son for himself. That could easily be seen as something to be laughed at, something one could see as without reason. So here we see his doubts. Now let's read the description for the Sunlight Straight Sword in Dark Souls 1. It says, This standard longsword belonging to Solaire of Astora is of high quality, is well forged, and has been kept in good repair. Easy to use and dependable, but unlikely to live up to its grandiose name. Again, we kind of see how it doesn't actually live up to the power of the sun, or have anything special about it at all. What is interesting though, is the Sunlight Straight Sword in Dark Souls 3 is imbued with lightning. Let's read its description. Straight sword imbued with the strength of lightning. This featureless longsword contains the very power of the sun, perhaps is a relic of one-sided adoration. So this could mean a few things. Perhaps the one-sided adoration is in reference to Solaire looking out for only himself, interested only in his own son. Perhaps, if you believe my theory that the firstborn could have been a former king of Lothric, then this Sunlight Straight Sword could be the actual sword, whereas Solaire's could have just been a replica, since he did seemingly want to be the firstborn. That's a little witty joke I did there. Did you get it? Wanted to be the firstborn, because everyone thought he was the firstborn, and he's after the same power, etc., etc. Well, I thought it was a good one. Anyways, it isn't confirmed what the canonical ending for Solaire is, whether he linked the fire in his own timeline or he died in the ruins of Izalith. From my perspective, him dying in Izalith would make the most sense. Him linking the fire requires player intervention, and he's the only summonable NPC for Gwyn, so perhaps including a way to save him could have been a gameplay mechanic for offline players. If the player pays him no mind or can't find him, the same thing always happens to Solaire. The sunlight maggot latches itself to his head, and that's the last we hear of our old friend. He went mad in his search for power. Why would finding his very own son appease Gwyn or the firstborn? To find a power like that would be more akin to being a rival to them rather than worship. His lust for power would be his own undoing. In fact, some of his last words were,
Finally, I have found it. I have. Ah, my very own son. I am the son.
I am the son. That line is kind of critical to his entire MO. I am the son. He didn't do it for divine adoration. Gwyn's firstborn, the heir of sunlight, is the son. Yet Solaire wanted that title himself. Perhaps he didn't feel as though the old god of war still kept a close eye on his warriors of sunlight. Perhaps he couldn't still feel the firstborn's presence anymore. So he took it upon himself to become the sun and bring glory back to the warriors of sunlight. It's rather sad, really. We can't know for sure if that was his intention or if he was just hungry for power. Either way, from a new perspective, I don't think Solaire is who we thought he was. He certainly isn't as innocent as we all wanted to believe. Rest easy, buddy. No matter your intentions, we'll all always remember the good times we had.
Exhilarating, is it not? The power of the sun.